Hey everybody, I know a lot of people are interested in color grading their images, and there's a lot of different ways of doing it. And one I'm going to share with you is using Blend If in Adobe Photoshop to actually color grade. So I'm going to work on 4 projects, but one in depth, and that will be this image right here, this landscape image, and convert it to look like this. But I'm not going to limit it to landscape. We're also going to do lifestyle and also a still life. Are we ready for this? Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to the channel, this is dedicated to photography and as a photo artist pushing ourselves creatively out of the box. Okay, color grading seems to be a very popular subject matter, and there's a lot of different ways of actually doing that. And I'm going to share a method with you that I was taught years ago, and I still occasionally do use that. So let's jump in and take a look at some examples here, and I'm going to build this for you. Okay, so here, this is just a landscape shot, sunrise, and then this is the finished product right here. Then the next thing is that this is a still life, and again, going from the before, and there is the after. And then the very last one is a lifestyle image. And then I'm going to go from that to that. All right, so let's get started with the very first project, and that's the landscape one. So let's do it. All right, diving right here into Photoshop, let's take a look at our first project. Actually, I'm going to do actually 2 landscape ones. So I'm going to again, if you've been following me for a long time, I just prefer just double clicking on my workspace here. And when I do that, I get the open dialog box. You just navigate to the folder that has your projects or images in it. I'm just going to select these 2 right here, click on open, and we'll get those 2 open up. Now we're going to start with this one first. Let me move this to the side. And this is where we're going to actually color grade by using the areas that are dark and light in our image by using something called Blend If. And we've had Blend If for many, many, many years in this program. And there's different ways of actually accessing the Blend If, which I'll share with you in a minute. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the Oreo cookie dipped in milk in layers. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to choose solid color. Now, when this opens up, I'm going to pick, let's go with something like this. In this color range, in fact, a little bit more toward the orange. Say about right there. Click on OK to accept that. And again, this could be changed later, and I'll show you an example of that. But I can play the opacity, but I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. And in blending modes, if I come down here, I find that you could play with different blending modes based on your image and the color that's being used. Like color burn looks pretty cool. I find a lot of times I'm using soft light or overlay, but you're not limited to these. There's vivid light. I mean, just go through the different blending options. So I'm going to be aggressive here. I'm just going to choose overlay on this one to make sure that we can see this on the video. And now that I have that done, I want to open up the Blend If feature in Photoshop. Now, a couple different ways of doing that. You can come down here where it says Effects and click on this, and you'll see blending options right there as a choice. I like to do this, and it's not right or wrong, but in the gray area of layers, don't go where the name is at. I'm just going to go off to the side a little bit. If I just double click in that spot, I automatically will get the Blend If option that would open up for me. So 2 different ways of getting it real quick. And then right here, I'm going to come right down to the bottom. Here's your overlay blending mode, by the way, that I chose in layers. So it's sort of grayed out here, but that's your blending mode. This is opacity. If I change this to 50% or close to 50%, can't see that there, but I'm actually changing it there. So 2 different places to do that, but I'm going to be aggressive, 100%. Down here toward the very bottom of the dialog box, underlying layer. What does that mean? That means our photograph right here. That's our underlying layer. So if I come over here where it says underlying layer, and I am looking at the entire spectrum from light to dark, I don't want this blending option that I just chose, that color. I don't want it in the darker areas. I only want it in the lighter areas. So I can go over here, grab this little node right there, click and drag, and watch what happens as I move this to the right. Watch what happens to the picture. You can see how it's applying that color I chose only in certain areas, and that is in this area of the lightness area of the image. Now, the transition is pretty awful if you look at the sky there, so we can split this by doing this. I'm going to hold the Alt key down, Option on a Mac, and click and drag. Now I let go of the Alt, and now I can slide these back and forth to fine-tune this to get the look that I want. So you're making a nice gradual change right there. Hopefully that makes sense. Click on OK to accept that. And there's my before and after on that. Now I'm going to add another layer. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to choose again a solid color. And in the darker areas, I'd like something in the blue spectrum. So I'm just going to choose maybe something like this. Click on OK to accept that. And then once again, blending options is up to you. Whatever looks good based on your image. I will be aggressive. I'm going to go with overlay again. And then I'm just going to double click in the gray area on the side to make sure I get the dialog box that opens up. And again, underlying layer. This time, I want that blue to be blended into the darker areas, not the lighter areas. So I'm going to come over here, the far right, click and drag to the left. And again, very abrupt, transitions here in the image. I'm going to hold the Alt key down, Option on a Mac, click and drag. Now I split them. Now I can let go of the keyboard, and I can play with this to get the look that I want. And by the way, all this is going to be different based on the darkness and brightness of your image. So it's good to have an image that has some, very strong light areas and dark areas. And based on the colors you're using will determine how much of these sliders that you move back and forth. Now I'm going to do something creative here. I'm going to click on OK to accept that. And what I'm going to do is go on this layer right there, but on that mask. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my paintbrush. So B for brush. I'm going to paint back at 100% opacity here. And I'm just going to click and drag and paint over the areas up front here. And with that done, I'll go to properties here on that layer where it says feather, maybe feather that out a little bit. And then the density, I might want to pull back on that. So maybe that's too intense. If I move it all the way to the left, it's like nothing happened. So you can see there, if I go halfway, I'm getting a little bit. I can go strong if I want. So I'm going to go maybe about right there. And again, personal preference on this. So if I turn the mask on and off, you can see what's going on there. And this is the before and after of color grading. So I got very aggressive to make sure that this shows on the YouTube channel here. But again, just a really cool way of color grading an image. Now, with this selected here, if I change my mind, and let's pull that density back so we're back to clear. There's another image here. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I'm selecting these two layers that have the colors on it. And I'm going to click and drag it over to this tab that has that other image. So I'm going to click and drag over to a different image. Come on the image, let go, snaps that right in there. Now, again, the settings aren't going to be right because every image is going to be slightly different. So it's up to you to go back. Like I'm going to turn this off at the very top, come over here, and I'll go to the side, double click, get the blend if to open up, and then play the sliders to adjust this based on, the colors are being used. Maybe pull the opacity down a little bit. You don't want to get as aggressive maybe. And then I'll activate this one, do the same thing. I'll double click to open up the blend if dialog box. Maybe pull my opacity down on that. I think it's a little bit too strong. And then you can come over here to play with the sliders and readjust that based on your look and need. So the point is, if I wanted to on a series of images using the same colors, I can do that. But also remember, let me go back over here to the landscape one. If I go here and I double click on this right here to open up the color picker, here's an option. Come over here on the slider and you can actually change your colors. Or if I go back to the blue area, maybe I want to lighten up. So I'm going to move it. I want to lighten up the blues or maybe darken, down the blues and stuff. You have total control because this is also, again, a non-destructive adjustment layer right there that I'm using. So it's really nice that if you change your mind on something, it's so easy to change that. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's do a couple other ones. I'm going to go through those fast. I pre-did those, but we'll take a look at the settings in layers. So let's do it. All right, before I jump into Photoshop here, I'm going to open up a couple projects, and I want to make sure you understand that we're not limited to using landscape images with our color grading here. We can also do it with still life. We can do it with portraits, lifestyle images, street photography, whatever. But just as a quick reminder, if you are learning anything and enjoying these type of videos, if you could do me a favor, and that is like the video, subscribe if you have not subscribed, and hit that notification bell. The next time I upload a video, you'll get notified on that. And for new people, you just need to know that I put a video out every week on a Wednesday. Sometimes I throw in some extra bonuses, I call them, quickly on a Monday or maybe a Friday. And then also once a month, not sure whenever, but it's usually once a month on a Saturday, I do something called the philosophy of a photo artist, where I sit back and just relax a little bit and go over some issues and questions that people have submitted to me at my private email address. So the email address is in the show notes and is right here at the bottom of the screen. So feel free to email me with any issues. I'll try to get to as many things as I can, but I have to really cherry pick what I feel most people would benefit. I can't do every possible thing. Okay, let's take a look at two more projects real fast here. So again, just going to open up the dialog box, and I'm going to pick this and this. Now I did these in advance just to save time, just to share with you that. And one of them I'm going to throw in a little bit of a curveball, but I don't want you to just have blinders on thinking you can only do landscape. So here's a lifestyle picture, and this is the starting image. I did this, and I did that. So that was my color grade. And just to show you that if I double click on this, you can see the color I chose. You can move that around if I want to change this a bit. And also you can see that if I double click on the side here to open up the blend if dialog box, you can see my settings over here with the sliding to make that transition based on the colors that are being used. So again, very simple to do this, again, on any type of photography. If I go over here to a still life, now I threw in a curveball here because, again, same technique, just was using different colors. And I added this right here. I wanted this to be a little bit more dramatic. And so I added a curves adjustment layer, and this is called an S curve. I click here in this spot, and I added a couple points so I can add some strong contrast. You can see what it's doing to the image. Let me get really aggressive. This is pulling down the darkness, the dark area of the image, and this is the light area of the image. So you got to be careful not to go too far like that. But so that's what I did. So you can see a before and after. So very, very, again, aggressive on that one. But again, it's based on, it's based on your style. What is your vision on this when you're working with these images? So that is using Blend If to do color grading in your imagery. Again, one of many different ways of doing color grading. I think this is really a really cool, creative way. Give it a try on your images. And again, I'd like to end this video by saying what I normally say, and that is, let's get that camera out. Let's practice. Let's make mistakes. Why? Because we learn from making mistakes. And let's think literally out of the box, creatively. Until next time, see ya.